Bring in Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor and Fox News contributor. Andy, great to have you with us. What did you make of this list that's more detailed in terms of what they took and these empty files? Mark said that the empty files said military on the outside or forward to staff. Were there empty folders that were marked classified as well? Can you clear that up?
Yeah, as I understand it, there are some empty folders that were repositories of classified information. To that extent, there ought to be tracking information in the envelope so that they can trace like the path of the document. And obviously, what they'd be concerned about is why is there an envelope without a document, and have to track down the document. And it raises at least the possibility that they didn't get everything they were hoping to find.
Yeah, Bill Barr gave an interesting explanation earlier today about why there would be news articles and gifts and items of clothing. He's saying that it could be that the documents were found in boxes that had those things in them also, and that the reason they took it all was to show where that there were all these willy-nilly things that were thrown in together into a box. So they wanted to prove that by bringing the whole box. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, I think AG Barr is right about that, Martha. What they're asking, what a warrant is about is not just the classified information. They want evidence of the offense of mishandling classified information. Right. So to the extent that they can show that classified information was not only in a place that it wasn't supposed to be, but that it was strewn about with other items that weren't classified in a careless way, that helps them prove their case if they bring a case.
Yeah, you know, he also said that he felt that those documents should never have been there in the first place. And he also threw a lot of shade at this idea of this blanket declassification, calling that, he said, if that's what happened, that's a reckless move. You know, a president just doesn't sort of blanket declassify, you know, an enormous number of boxes without knowing exactly what that will fall on.
Yeah, well, I would say two things about that, Martha. First of all, I really don't know why this is that much of an issue. I've heard the argument now about declassification, but now that we know more facts, here's what happened. They gave a subpoena on May 11th, a grand jury subpoena that says, give us the classified documents. What the Trump camp said in response was not, we don't have any classified documents because he's already declassified everything. They said, come to Mar-a-Lago and we'll give you the documents. And then they gave him a package with 38 documents in it. So they didn't say he had declassified everything. They acted like they had classified documents, and here they are. The other thing is, the Presidential Records Act has a provision in it that says presidents are supposed to document the activities of their presidency and preserve those in writing. And, you know, you would think if he declassified, there'd be a writing that said that.
Yeah, you would. Andy, thank you. We continue to follow this story as it unfolds, and we're waiting for that decision from the judge on whether or not there'll be a special master. We'll, of course, break in with that. And I know, Andy, you're standing by on that as well. So we appreciate it. Always great to have you. Take care, Andy.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.